Ascension of the timeless. The resolution of skill from all dimensions. Moments come and go. The human heart finds itself a witness to all that the mind reveals. What human life has come to is a set of positions of intelligent activation. Many live their lives in stories that they feel belong to them, but all creatures in the conscious realm belong to a hidden story. Behind the designs of a world, the designer's table knows the secrets of the hand that moves. Creatures in time, upon noticing time, permit timeless moments to occur. Who are we before life can be reborn? On some level, attention moves. Consciousness dictates its own meaning. Archives of information are found. The ultimate effort of consciousness is the crystallization of meaning, a reversion back into the source that could not doubt. In other words, the human species and all conscious creatures in the realm are seeking a doubtless moment, a moment that is untouchable by change. The minds of creatures, especially those embodied, dwells in the turmoil of changing skies. How many worlds does the attention need to journey through until the ultimate is realized? The human intelligence is like an antenna. And if there is an attachment to the sense of self, the antenna's weakness is its limited frame. Voices do not belong to the persona, and mankind's discovery of its unconscious is the discovery of its secret weapon. Creatures that are bound in conditions, specifically shape, space, substance, and even appearance of color. A creature is a definition, a sort of photo of a noun. What the world is a verb. Behind our eyes, if the attachment to individual worship is gone, a new world is revealed. Enlightenment is not just the self that is released. The first step of the human species is to accept what it has. And what the human species has is an opportunity and a privilege to stand on a multidimensional terrace. You are in your dimension, but to go beyond it requires a different setting. A man climbed a mountain to the summit, only to discover to climb beyond the sky requires wings. As the poet Rumi says, you were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life? A species that has awakened its cosmic eyes, a species that has noticed beyond its immediate environment. The privilege of the human species is advancement. The purpose of the conscious mind is advancement, but advancement at what pace? And so playfully it can be said, honesty aligns the antenna, and the rest is done by trust. Language tore us apart, even though it sheltered us from the storm of meaninglessness, but the fearless have not allowed fear's existence. For how long does a species need to stumble, as if the past is trying to catch up to the present's expectation, which is a future that has not arrived? The only way to get to the future is to be in it. Think of it in the sense that all human beings right now alive are like conscious agents. They are characters in a server. They are players in a video game. Each player in the video game has access to an inner world, just like video game characters have an inventory. What the human mind has access to, even though it doesn't have shaped interface, it is imagination. If somebody was living in the year 3002, their imagination would be a setting. Our minds are different entities than our bodies. And where do words travel from? Where do they come from? Where does a voice appear? How does a voice appear in the void? The human species questions its position, and that enables it to discover other positions. On some level, people think they seek truth, but truth is not for man's eyes. The truths of worldhood. You see, a player in a video game that wants to be free from the video game does not want to be a player, but rather the one who plays the video game takes it to a checkpoint and then turns off the computer. You see, there's a difference. Two enlightened beings, let's say two eternal beings, were having a conversation. Imagine, about reincarnation. One of them's like, man, I'm tired of just endlessly walking as a creature. The other being says, I am tired of being tired. You see, our emotions are what we find when thought tries to become form, tries to enter external form. Right now, as voices enter the void, realities take shape. But the greatest realization of the shaped creature and the creature in time is that timelessness means there is no body. We fear the disappearance the dismissal of our body. And this is a reasonable fear. But if we were wondering about an unreasonable truth, if we for a moment as beings asked ourselves, who are we and what is really here, emotions arrive from dimensions the mind has nostalgia for. You see, your body is the earth's gift to you. The mind is the sky's gift to you. And your soul, hopefully it becomes the hand that opens these gifts. There is a lot that a person doesn't know. And so when we look at the human lifetime, it's all about what sort of information you're working with. But if we suddenly see we are trying to discover the meaning of a painting where half of it is hidden, we are left to draw the rest. Mankind will implement temporary strategies until eternal consciousness arrives, in a period of 100 to 200 years. Many pilots will have arrived, souls that have no fear of what the past could see, souls that arrive from where the future is. The advancement of the species is not only done by the species, because advancement in a world means to understand the world. And part of the journey of the human species is to quickly and efficiently and smoothly acknowledge its individualism, its humanism, and realize that the dictionary of conscious framework in the universal sector is way bigger than the human idea. We are the first chapter of a book that we think we are writing. Soon we will discover that there has always been not just a relationship of the earth with the sky, which is human history, but a relationship and a hidden history of the sky with the earth. That behind the clouds there are spaces of civilizations that have gone beyond the pedestal of manifestation. We are not alone because the space we are in is the space of the world. The personality may think, or may consider, or attention may manifest in a way where its certainty arises from the past. But imagine a certainty as if the future never abandoned you. The future never abandoned our species, and the future of our species is the future of the cosmos. All dimensions where consciousness exists, hearing the echo of the words in the void. All dimensions have been commanded to assist mankind's revelation. We are the revelation for a celestial audience. And so, normality is dependent on our fear, the boundaries we set for the truths that can enter our ears. Why should ancient eyes fear new sight? We we are creatures of space and we are creatures in space. Both these dimensions require to activate. Right now, the minds of the human beings seem to be dependent on their body. But what if you're not just a body? It's as if, what if nobody exists? What if an invisible wind named consciousness is passing through this dimension? The creature that finds no purpose finds no world to trust. There are mysteries of how reality is designed. But a part of the design, it's as if the design, it's like a design imagine an invention becoming conscious and getting clues from how it was invented as a suggestion of the designer. Could the human being be an inconceivable invention of another dimension? As attention is stabilized in the human framework, upon the certainty that one finds when they stare at the edge of their world, the unknown is a permission for new behavior. If the human being realized it's an intelligence that can pilot as space and can pilot as shape and matter, if this is understood truly, the continuity of an eternal purpose in a context where, imagine, there are eternal beings and there's temporary beings. And so imagine a temporary being had a conversation with an eternal being, and the temporary being asked the eternal being, "What do you live for?" The eternal being responds, asking the same question from the temporary. The temporary being says, "I live for everything I can before I can no longer live." The eternal being notices a simple humility and responds. The potential purpose for an eternal being is not continuity, it is not survival. Eternal, and it's as if when space realizes it cannot die, its purpose is not it's not just creation. An eternal purpose is the shapeless state of reality, to be creatures that are not embodied. They are not, embodiment is not natural to them, but creatures that their consciousness starts being embodied. That means those who are born, the visible is natural. Those who are unborn, they are naturally being invisible. The ascension of the timeless implies the freedom of the shapeless. The freedom of the shapeless may be considered inconceivable by a creature, by a human being. But if the human being realizes the secrets of the mysterious, the secrets of dimensions beyond is a secret that is present. If one realizes that the ultimatum of truth is how it is being before any shape, you see, behind your eyes, the nature of the original reality. For example, imagine a human being that seeks to find the original Earth. So imagine your eyes have opened and you suddenly realize you are in parallel Earth, let's say 75,377, for example, I'm saying, So imagine you find yourself in a simulation of Earth, but a part of you knows that there is the original Earth. And it's as if when you return to that original Earth, it's actually the original state of manifestation. The original state of manifestation. What is truly here, the bizarreness of the moving cosmos, is that it is found in a state which is instantaneously being. You see, more than 2 moments are required for there to be change if reality is instant. You see, the truth of the shaped entities and the shapeless spaces of reality is resolved. What is going on here is not human beings on Earth. It is an instantaneous, attributeless attention. It is an attention in literally what inconceivable means is that it's here, but it can't be anything, just anything. We think that our eyes are, our biological eyes, a left eye and a right eye. But in reality, what the true eyes of the original state of being is, it is shape and space. And that which is aware, that shape is being in space, and the space is there for the shape to relate to. You see, the freedom of the original. So imagine from a Buddhic context, let's say you're a person who believes in reincarnation. What reincarnation implies is that it's not just a genetical continuity. Think of it this way, that for the biological human being, 2 human beings reproduce and a child is born, and the genetics continue. Not the full genetics, but a component. So if genetical continuity requires reproduction, it's another way of saying how would I say? Reincarnation is another way of saying the person has become detached from the world but is still attached to the self. If we were to wonder about the relationship of a self with the world, it's as if the self is either attached to the world, either detached, or either no verb. If every person's attention was like a lightsaber for a Jedi, it would be as if like your relationship with the Force becomes your life force. There is something moving here that is the greatest proof that, divinity is not completely inaccessible. Something ultimately is happening here. That is the greatest source of meaning in the void. Many people live actual lives, but every person simultaneously has access to a potential life. The karma of the mind is very different than the karma of the body. In some dimensions, poetically pointed to, consciousness starts collective, and then its enlightenment is to discover its individualism. Two sides of a coin of intelligence. Imagine right now we're individuals being like, what's this collective intelligence here? On the other side of the coin, collective beings are wondering if individualism is possible. The skills in all dimensions of reality is the potential of the conscious engagement in those realities and dimensions. Just like a human being sees, let's say, a bird fly in the sky, intelligence of different eyes is active in the realm. And also intelligence that doesn't have eyes is also active in this realm. A shape is required if the shape fears the shapeless. Reincarnation is for those beings that have not noticed the presence of life as the space to any move they can make. You see, if you are not just a human being, what can you be? The human mind wonders about how it's being, and prior to any action defining its character or giving persona, the secret of being is there. And you know what's fascinating? Sometimes I wonder, if, let's say, after this lifetime of mine, when that moment comes when the elemental suit is taken off, archetypes of fear dissolve in the laughter of truth. The world is being and occurring in so many advanced ways beyond what human beings can see, that for us to feel inferior when we are the actors on the stage of the cosmos, it is irresponsible. What is the mind? All human beings are acknowledging they have a mind, but what is it? The mind is not just a sight, a sort of unknown sight. The mind is poetically, it is a guardian angel of the body. It's an entity. We think that it's just the biology that leads to human intelligence, but what even provides the free will's force to even move? There's something else here. Ascension of a creature in time, or let's say ascension for an entity in time, is like the being realizes they are contained, they are inside the simulation of time. The ascension for a timeless being is actually beyond duality. There are many states beyond duality. Most human beings, let's say those who are they find rhythms, they find the mystical rhythm. What happens is human intelligence is authorized. Pretty much what can it do? You can be yourself, you can be something else, or you were never yourself. human intelligence, pretty much, I think, a categorization for most human beings' spiritual experiences on this planet, based on your ability to accept shape. Your limitations define you. Non-duality for the human being appears to be oneness, and really, if love was a power, where is this power being directed to? Many people say they love everything, they love the world, they act like compassionate saints, but what are we loving? We are loving everything before it was everything. That is the true mystical love. When you realize your eyes are the divine, because what else could move in the void? Ascension. Is a stepping out of the worlds you built to discover that what truly is God is the ability of infinite sight to discover its other face. That means whoever you are listening to me right now, what multidimensionalism implies is that there is a different face to the moment. There are different eyes, and it's as if what our bodies could not see, the mind could. What the mind cannot see, the universal eyes await. Because now is when the songs of the advanced civilization arrive on Earth, when mankind was hoping and praying for a better tomorrow, but not knowing how it will appear. It appears through us. The future arrives from within to without, for time is the mind's masterpiece. Listen well. Listen not to just the words you find, but listen to how the world moves. Listen to the secret sermon of your own eyes. Listen to the freedom that was beyond shape. To truly become a species like you, that is capable of acknowledging an advanced being. It's like it's far, guys. A part of me looks at this world and feels like, wow, behind our eyes it has transformed so many times. In front of our eyes, the world is like, it's a newborn. So many formats. It's like imagine an eternal being like, man, how many eyes do I need to look through to realize who's looking? A bird flew between the branches of an existential forest, an experiential rhythm, something that knew it was different. But different how? The ears of our mind hears the body's permission. The ears of our heart hear the heartbeat of the mystery of an incredible universe. The most beautiful fact about life is that we don't know what it is. so there is room for us to discover what it could be. And if somebody was like, Mr. Within, are there non-physical, timeless beings? And I would say space has always had a soul. We just think the matter holds it. We are the presence of a universe as much as we are the personality attached to a name. Dear eyes in the void, your great performance awaits. Eyes that are born to watch themselves transition. What an incredible intelligence. What an ability to be something and then realize we can't be it forever. We are all travelers. There's this story which I consider one of the most profoundest stories I've ever heard. It finds us from the Sufi tradition. And back in the day, there was this caravan going from town to town in the east. And this caravan goes to this one town. There's a merchant. This merchant takes everything he's got. He goes to the town. He shouts everybody to come outside. And so different people come. He sells certain products. But there's this one person who seems like a very humble soul. And the person comes up to him and says, I don't have enough money, but I need this item. So the merchant says, okay, you can have this item, and you can keep your money, right? And so the person says, in exchange, then let me tell you. And so what happens is this sort of businessman, merchant back in the day, is told by this villager that there's an enlightened person in the Sufi tradition. Those who knew the true nature of reality were known as people who held the pearl. So the villager says to the merchant, there's someone who holds the pearl here in this village, go talk to him, right? So this merchant, after business is closed, after his business hours, he goes and finds this house at the end of the village, which is like, a very simple house. And he knocks on the door, and the door opens, and it's this Sufi dervish, this sort of, mystic. And so the dervish welcomes the merchant in. The merchant sits down, the dervish is making tea, and so the merchant looks around and sees that all the furniture, everything that this dervish has, is like a mat, a lamp, and a kettle. And so the merchant looks at the Sufi, this man who holds, the pearl, and he says, my friend, where's your furniture? To try to create some sort of small talk with an enlightened sage or something. And the sage gets very intense, the Sufi dervish, and he says, where's your furniture? And the merchant looks at the sage and it's like, buddy, you kidding me? Where's my furniture? I'm a traveler here. And so the Sufi says, so am I. The moral of the story being that we are not just travelers in shape, but we are an attention that instantaneously chooses the world of its being. It's like the choice you made when reality didn't have shape yet, but there was no you. You see, it's as if the moment you go beyond shape, you are the potential of the universe. As if infinity is your birthright when you are shapeless. But when you are shaped, to live a finite life is its own elegance. If we were to imagine that all minds and conscious dimensions in this universal sector advanced, that a compassion for the multidimensional was found, rather than a dualistic judgment for a singular being. Dear viewers, when we wonder about what we have accepted as our world, it's as far as we have seen. For philosophers have been souls that have indirectly tried to protect the human destiny. Every being has its nature. Its nature suggests how it animates as a shape. So every person's nature can poetically, simultaneously, also be seen as their geometrical blueprint of their potential to animate. And even though it feels, at least this is from one human being's perspective, but to me it feels that what our minds are in the context of society is that they are accumulators of the information of the outer realms, and what the free will is doing is using sensory information to program itself. And so really what being a person is the activation of a program of your mind. So in a world where we suddenly notice there are programs, so when two people speak, it's as if the interaction of two programs trying to create a third reality. What truly becomes divine action is in noticing in any moment where something is happening, where it is happening. A question about the context of our shape leads to an entrance into a realization that what is within you is the permission of the meaning outside. The eyes are considered as the windows of the soul. And so it's another way of saying the body is a house, and what is living in this house? What is moving? Itself as mind. The knights of the realm honorably marching into the day. The human species, in its ability to recycle the void as the permission of infinity, to recycle the singular as the salvation of the dual, and to recycle finally to truly define what is here as an intelligence. It is as if we need language from a dualistic reality, a singular reality, a void reality, and an infinite reality. And it's as if what we are is a being that is aware of these dimensions, these four dimensions at the same time, these four ways of the potentials of how manifestation can be. You know, I think the era of truth-seeking has ended, and the urgency of the era of not truth-seeking, but truth-being. More than ever, the cosmos requires new dimensions to be accessed. You see, this is the poetic destiny of the human mind. What grand vision can our mind serve? If we were to ask that question, we would see that the purpose of the mind and its ability to have different memories, have different perspectives on the moment, is another way of saying the purpose of our mind is to bring in the new. And so it is the utilization and expression of consciousness, as if something has become conscious and now it wants to know how conscious it can become or is. A new culture has to be created for the future generations, a culture where there is not a fear of space, but rather a sort of love for how we are being it. In the future generations, or let's say for the future generations, I can see that in their language, it's like I'm trying to get the species to advance communication as far as it can before the year 2000, let's say 50 or 100. Because at some point, the species will make a technological advancement that will be so fascinating that everybody may forget the natural world too soon. If the world is divided between technology and the user of technology, the users of technology need to advance. If in the future, let's say we create a time travel machine in 2022. Let's say we go into the year 2344. It would be as if a person was asked, "Who are you?" The cultural, the context to the human being would be so multidimensional that the person could respond, "I am everyone. I am just me. I am all chaotic and ordered beings," Or the person could identify as good or bad, but that would be archaic. Duality is going to become old school. As the purpose of the mind is to bring in new dimensions, and the person would say, "I'm an infinite being." So an infinite being, its personality has no limits. And what the world appears to be, at least physically, it's an endlessly changing shape. Like, that's what the world is. We are in a sort of photograph that is never finished being drawn. The forces of nature are showing us how the world has a life. simulation. Of language. Whether it's a simulation of nature, whether it's a simulation in cyberspace, wherever you find your attention, experience cannot be taken away. Human beings fear their exit out of this dimension. They fear death, but life cannot know death. What I mean by this is that if we are alive as the space where reality is happening, then we are aware of the shape changing. It's as if the person's like, I've been aware of my body changing from the beginning of my life till now, right? And I'm still here. And so imagine if the world became your body and you just realize it's changing. What a temporary being considers as death, an eternal view considers as expansion, or a return to infinity. Because that's what duality has done. It has made us be finite creatures, endlessly one. It's like known infinity and unknown infinity. We have made the infinite unknown, but what if it was the other way around? What if we were infinitely known and our temporary life was unknown? What if true confidence meant trust in the space where being is happening? In Vedic thought, they talk about this concept called Satchidananda, and it translates into conscious existence is bliss. To realize its bliss is to realize that the limits of your intelligence are being watched. You are watching your life. And when you watch the known dimensions, you take shape as an entity, let's say in samsara. And when you watch, or when you realize the watcher has not gone anywhere, that which knows, that which has celebrated all its birthdays, there is something keeping watch of all the identities we travel through as we manifest and animate throughout the days. Something has been watching the idea of you as you. And once you become acquainted with this, this is how the mind is subdued. What it means is that the mind is an entity that we think is just in the domain of the free will, but the mind is working with the body. It's not the body. Now, the sophistication, let's say, or the capability, or the relationship of a mind that works with a body is that the mind is not just seeing a body. Like the body sees a mind, but the mind doesn't just see a body. The mind is in a relationship where it is waiting for poetically commands from the void. We are waiting, like poetically, that's like the religious person is waiting for God's hidden voice. In a secular sense, it's like to reveal the secret of truth is everybody's fascination, as if everybody sees what they do not know. But to know what we do not means we are not this. Fear not the destiny of a changing world. Fear is necessary, but inefficient when eyes realize dreams are dreams until we walk in them, until we actualize. We have experienced and are experiencing our temporary life, but to have a consideration of the temporary, it's as if, what is the idea of a temporary being connected to? How can it exist? There is a quote from Shankara. He says, "The treasure I have found cannot be described in words. The mind cannot conceive it." It's, you know what it is? It's like the species has made, let's say, 60% progress in its physical life. The physical life of our species. Or let me say it this way, in regards to the physical life, 50%, let's give it a percentage, 50% progress. In regards to its invisible life, let's say 25% progress. And when it comes to the inconceivable life, I think maybe give it 1-2%. What it means is that it's not just how a individual human being is behaving. Let's say in the future we will have global psychologists. And so they're wondering, they're trying to see the psychology of a species, of the whole thing happening. You know, the human being is not just a foolish creature that is stumbling and going through trials and tribulations to be what it is. The human intelligence is actually a sort of navigation. Somebody can say they lived a life, or they lived a lifetime as a human being. Or someone can say an unknown attention was piloting the human life. And so we are actually inconceivable pilots that use the hands of our invisible life to move our visible body. You are a pilot, and there is an instant, there's a moment. Some mystics have said it's like the space between your thoughts, but I'll tell you, it's the space before any thought. And the only way, at least the ability in this moment for me is active, the only way that I can do anything right now is because the trust for my inconceivable life was achieved timeless times ago, you know. You see, it's all about trust, and when there's trust in all three lives, your invisible life, your visible life, and your inconceivable life, fear was just a taste, was just like salt, you know. You know, a part of me, I remember I was giving a talk, I don't remember which one it was, but it was during one of the talks where as I was giving the talk so think of it this way, when I'm speaking, or think of it this way, that when I give these talks, physically I'm just a person speaking in a microphone, but behind my eyes I'm seeing different screens, and these screens have films. And it's not, let's say, like a screen, like a video screen. It's kind of like different rooms my attention is in, and when I speak, it's like these are what I see in one room of my mind. So during the talks, when I'm giving the talks, I'm also present in another room in my mind where I am literally an audience member of my own self. So during the talk, where I was giving the talk, I for a moment felt that a command had been given to this universal sector for all beings to serve the advancement of consciousness. You see, it's not just that we are a creature on a planet, we are a conscious creature. We are a consciousness in the world that is of let's say, poetically inconceivable value. Imagine something that, imagine you had something and someone came and said, hey man, are you selling this? How much would you sell this for? Right? And the person says, I can't put a price on this. And the person's like, what do you mean? And the person said, because its value is inconceivable. The bliss that one finds poetically in the supremacy of how consciousness is existing. Dear viewers, have you basked in the greatness of your own mind yet? I felt a command was given for all dimensions in this universal sector to assist the advanced civilization of mankind. It's as if we think we are alone in the cosmos, but if there's a chance we're not, as if a sort of call of action has been made. A call to action. As if good and evil, chaos and order were bored of endlessly fighting. As if, imagine, a genetical program was bored of constantly, like, endless survival. The chaos wins in one chapter of history, the order wins in another chapter of history. Chaos, order, eventually the mind feels it has played the game long enough. And an advanced civilization is an advanced state of collective being. It is why universes exist, actually. They exist as stages for the greatest performances of consciousness. You see, if a person, it's all about the context. So right now, if I think I'm a human being on Earth, I just feel my judgment is based on what happens on Earth. But if I suddenly felt that before I was a shape, I had been the space where universes had been witnessed, as if the eyes of an ancient world never closed. You know what the fascinating truth is? We consider there has been so many civilizations that have come and gone. Somebody like, looks at the stars of Orion and suddenly sees, becomes fascinated in, the pyramids of Giza, So there has been so many different types of, let's say, human beings and human efforts on this planet, and we have been like so casually like, yeah, our ancestors died, but if the mind was not an object, it's as if where is the mind of every living being in history? And it is hilariously the spirit that moves us. You know what it is? It's like souls are just, they exist because bodies do. But if the world is seen as a body, poetically, the soul of the world is inconceivable. So it's like a visible self, and a self that discovers itself in a mind is like a visible self in an invisible world. And so now imagine the edge of that invisible world being an inconceivable self, and that inconceivable self having yet another conceivable world. It's another way of saying, what if the gods of one dimensions are the servants of the god of another? And it's as if, what if in an infinite world there are infinite gods, as if in every parallel universe of Earth there was a god, imagine. So imagine in like one parallel universe of Earth, everybody was worshipping the sun as a god. In one parallel universe of Earth, you know, it was like the Abrahamic traditions. In another parallel, let's say, version of the Earth, it was like extraterrestrials. You see, it's like once you see how something moves, you can know you can at least have a sense of its variations. If the mind-body dualism of Descartes is applied to all beings, it's as if really what it is that maybe on Earth, like many human beings, our ancestors, their bodies logged out of the existential server, but what if their minds didn't? What if the logos is how 8 billion drops of soul in an oceanic context were never just souls? So all that can be asked of the individual now is that wonder who you would be if you trusted all dimensions of being. For the ascension of the timeless is instantaneous. Thanks for listening. Much blessings and namaste.